Welcome back to the Waterminds podcast. I'm Danielle Emmett. This is Nick Brannon with me, our wealth management advisor from Johnson & Brannon in Athens, Georgia. Today we'll be talking about more retirement preparation. So I think one of the main things that I hear in enrolling employees is I really can't save a whole lot of money, or I don't have a lot of extra money. To that question, what would you say to them, or what would your advice be?
Yeah, and that's not an uncommon question. And unfortunately, we're all facing our own budget constraints, and so I think it's a healthy thing to consider. So my response to that is always something is better than nothing.
That's exactly what I tell them.
Good. I found that I tend to do this in my own life. I'm kind of all or nothing. Either I do it full blown the way that I envision it in my mind, or I'm not going to do it at all. Well, that does not apply to saving money. The rule of thumb, and this, not to freak everyone out here, but the rule of thumb and the math really fleshes this out, is that we really need to be saving as Americans about 15 or 20% of our pre-tax income if we want to replicate our current lifestyle in retirement. That's a big number, and I rarely see people doing that, which is an issue in and of itself. But I would say something's better than nothing.
Right.
Compounding interest is really a magical thing. You'll turn around a few years from now and say, wow, I didn't feel like I was saving very much money, and you actually did save a lot. So I would say something is better than nothing. To dig a little deeper into that, I would say, also that most Americans waste an obscene amount of money doing things and spending money on things that they probably don't even care about. And so I think developing a budget will get you in a better spot to have more money to save. So that's how that's.
Well, with a lot of our recent graduates that we hire on, I tell them at least get in the habit of saving something. I mean, and I always tell them, you'll be amazed after a few years, you'll look into it and like, oh, I did save quite a bit. Now, on the other end of the spectrum of that, what if I'm maxing out my 401k and I feel I need to put more somewhere for retirement? What would your advice on that be?
Sure. Well, that's a great place to find yourself in, and I think it equally though is important. If there are folks out there who are watching this and they are in what I would call a high income. They're high income earners. They're in a high income tax bracket. The rule of thumb I mentioned earlier, it also pertains to them. So they're not somehow, because they earn a lot of money, exempt from saving the money that you and I have to save, that 15 or 20%. Well, but the problem, the challenge is that 15 or 20% of that bigger number is a bigger number. That's complicated math there. And so what happens is they oftentimes will bump up against the limits in these retirement plans, and they have to save money elsewhere. So I would just say briefly to those people, look to other sources. So IRAs, for example, again, depending on the income of the person, there are a lot of rules. The IRS makes sure to make this stuff as complicated as possible. But if you have IRA availability, utilizing IRAs, they're very tax efficient. There's some complex IRA strategies for really high income people. Saving in a non-qualified or just a regular investment account is often overlooked. I will often meet people and they'll tell me, I don't know where else to put this money, so it's piling up in my savings account. And it's okay to do that to some extent, but put it to work. Put it to work as if it were in any other type of retirement account. But I think the key is tax efficiency. And again, my team and I can help you think through that, or get with a financial planner, and they can help you strategize on how best to do that.
What are your thoughts on Social Security? Can it be counted on? How long, if at all? What is your feeling on that?
It's a loaded question.
I know.
So I'll tiptoe around a little bit, but Social Security, it is a thing. So I know a lot of younger generations, my generation, millennials, it's kind of like this thing that doesn't exist anymore. And so as a person who is involved in financial planning, I'm here to tell you all that it actually is a thing that we're all paying into. And while there are some challenges with Social Security, I do think that the caveat here is depending on your age.
Right.
It ought to be a consideration in your planning. So, and this is all very subjective, but in the planning analysis that we do for our clients is, folks that are 40 years and younger, we will take a heavily discounted assumption for Social Security. Right. Those who are 40 and older, a little less heavily discounted, and those who are 55 and older, we're assuming that they're going to get their Social Security. So just a quick fact. So the Social Security Administration did whatever kind of magic calculation they do to determine how long the Social Security Trust Fund is going to last, and they revised that number. And based on current assumptions, again, whatever that is, that full benefits will be payable until the year 2052. So while the Social Security situation isn't ideal, it's not as dire, I think, as some people think it ought to be.
That's good to know. Tell me when I can start taking money out of my retirement. Does it matter if you're still working or not working?
Great question. Yeah, so that's a very popular question. Hey, when can I start using some of this money that I've been parting with for the past 30 years? So the general rule in IRAs and in retirement accounts in general is at age 59 and a half.
Okay.
Why 59 and a half? I don't know. You can ask the IRS. But 59 and a half is the age at which you avoid paying penalties on the money that you take out. The one caveat to that, since we're sort of talking about 401ks in particular, is that you can take money from a 401k at age 55 as long as you're still employed and as long as your plan allows for that. Each 401k plan has their own particular provisions. So, but I would say, in general, just count on 59 or 60 years old. And if you find yourself in a situation where you want to retire earlier, you need to be proactive about what you're going to do about that. So Roth IRAs are a way to bridge a gap, and that's the one retirement account that can be accessed prior to 59 and a half. So in a Roth IRA, you can get the money out that you put in prior to 59 and a half. You can't get your growth out, but you can get the money you put in. So that can be a bridge. And also saving money outside of retirement accounts to help bridge that gap if, say, you're retiring at 55 instead of 60. Okay. That can bridge the gap until you can access those funds.
All right. Well, this is great information. For those who haven't participated in a 401k, how would they start?
Call me. Email me. You'll see my contact information here in a second. Email me. So I'm here on site, a few times a year. But don't wait. If you're eligible and able to get into the plan, call or email me, and we'll walk you through the process. It's very simple, and you'll be glad you did it.
Great. We really appreciate your help, Nick, and thanks for joining us for our segment number 3.
Thank you.
That was a good one.